We are at the very final session. May I say, maybe we're leaving the best to last, because we have got Miss Felicia Gilmore and Zack Ledwell, and they're going to be talking about at-risk youth panel. And I do see, and I'm going to say this trying to be funny, so if I don't, just laugh at me anyway. I see many offenders on our attendee list that have attended several sessions this week. So let us try to figure out how we can work with our at-risk youth better, because in these trying times, not everybody can afford to go to college in the traditional sense of associate, undergraduate, et cetera. But I can tell you what we can do. We can help our people through our certificates and certifications get training in a short amount of time, reasonably affordable, so they too can be a productive member of our society. Because we're all trying to help one another, and I think that we'll all learn a lot from this session. So it is with my great pleasure that I'm going to, that I've introduced Felicia and Zack. And we're going to go to the next slide, and we're going to go over a little bit of housekeeping rules and things like that. But I want all of you all to put a big virtual high five shout out to the companies and schools on this slide. When we were going to have CETI live in person in Savannah, Georgia at the Hyatt Regency, all of these great people were going to be, they were going to be our sponsors. Well, guess what? They still are. Not one person at all, not one company declined. They have supported us, tried and true, and they have seen the benefit of how we, as a community, and when I say community, I mean nationwide, worldwide, how we can come together and help one another. And especially in the continuing education, WIOA market, that's what we're all about. We didn't get into this business to become rich. We came into this business to help impact and change lives. I always say we're not selling classes, we're selling futures. Don't you want to help impact somebody's future? I know I do. And everybody on this slide you're looking at does too. So we're very grateful to them. So next slide, please. As in any classroom, whether it's virtual or not, we all got rules. So here's our rules today, children. And I mean that in a nice way. This session is being recorded for your benefit. If you signed up for this session and something happened at the last minute and you got pulled away, whether it was personal or professional, you're still going to get it. So this is to you who are not on here. We welcome you also. For those of you who are on our presentation live, I really thank you. I encourage interactivity, asking questions, because that's what it's all about, sharing information. Everybody's going to get the links to the presentation and the recording. If we run out of time and we have extra questions at the end that we didn't get to, which has not happened one time so far because we've been very efficient, we will make sure every question is answered. But I will tell you, everybody's going to be muted automatically, except for our speakers and when I'm moderating, because we don't want to hear your cats, we don't want to hear your dogs, we don't want to hear your kids in the background, because we're still at work, people, even though we may be at home. But the thing I will encourage you, use your mouse and go to the bottom of your screen. Don't click, just hover, and you're going to see a question and answer box. You're going to see a chat box. Use it. Ask anything you want, because it's my job on this recording to keep track of your questions to ask at the end. And I've gotten pretty good at it over the 5-day period. But the one thing that I personally want to ask you all to do is to post to your social media the hashtag CETI 2020. We've created a CETI alumni group on LinkedIn. And oh my God, we had, last time I checked, we had 121 people. And the purpose of it is, we're not going to invite you. You're going to ask to join because you want to be part of a group that wants to share information. How do I do this? Did anybody have this happen? What did you do about it? So we can learn from one another, because we're not getting any younger. And if we share past experiences, And maybe we don't have to, learn it the hard way the first time going around. Maybe we can learn from somebody else's experience. And that's what it's all about, is sharing. Sharing in this time of uncertain times and making everybody feel comfortable with one another. So once again, I encourage you to join the CETI alumni group. It is in the chat session, the link, just so you know. And we'll post it like in the middle of the session and at the end to remind you. Next slide, please. It's with my sincere pleasure to introduce these two fine-looking human beings. Miss Felicia Gilmore. She's career advisor for educational data systems at the Chatham County NCWorks Career Center, right here in North Carolina, where I happen to be. But we're all virtual, so we're from all over right now. So it's good. We're all gathering together. Think about it. Your budget at your school or your organization may not have afforded you the luxury to go to Savannah, Georgia, live in person this week. But your free of charge attendee budget allowed you to take the time for professional development. So we're all proud. Felicia works with employers, job seekers, to overcome the most challenging obstacles. And Felicia, I'm sure you hadn't saw any new ones here lately in the last few months. She started her career as a youth participant in high school for the WIA program, which we all know is WIOA now, and has worked for several programs under the workforce development umbrella. I'm looking to learn a lot from you today, Felicia. I really am. And her partner in crime, no pun intended, Zack Ledwell. He is the WIOA Finish Line Grant Coordinator for the Workforce Development Department and for Triangle South Workforce Development Board. Zack serves as the liaison between grant applications and the NCWorks Career Center staff. He gives back to the community by working with local high school track and field programs. And the title of their presentation is At Risk. Sometimes our mind goes to at risk, means you might be, a bad young person, but you're not always. You may be a person that got arrested for something and you may have to go to the juvenile delinquent center, but at risk could mean that I just grew up poor. It could mean that I might not have the advantages that other people have, and I need a mentor, a trainer, or a coach to help me get on the path to be successful. And I hope that we all keep and embrace that as we're learning and listening to this session. So with that, I am going to go on mute and I'm going to turn it over to our two great speakers. And you guys were on mute, but you caught it.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
All right. So as Miss Betty has stated, we are here to talk about at-risk youth and who they are. So for us, we always want to say that an at-risk youth is a child who is less likely to transition successfully into adulthood. Success can include academic success and job readiness, as well as the ability to be financially independent. It also can refer to the ability to become a positive member of society by avoiding a life of crime. So pretty much we want to make sure that we don't just single out one category of youth, saying that, the youth that are in the juvenile detention facilities are at risk, or youth that are not making good grades are at risk. It could be someone that is that has had a silver spoon, and they're just not ready mentally because they've always had everything handed to them. Those also are youth that are at risk to us.
Right. We also have teen parents that could be considered at risk. So we always want to make sure that we don't label our youth as much as possible, so that we can look outside the box to reach and help them as much as we can.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of what she said about labeling, I really don't like to label our youth. You know, although we say, okay, these are at-risk youth, that could be anyone. I mean, there are at-risk adults if we speak honestly.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and we can go to the next slide now. And just to, point out some of the causes that we see most often that come into the career centers and talk to us as WIOA applicants, finish line grant applicants, those that are in low income neighborhoods with a high rate of crime, toxins in the environment. So those individuals that have toxic environments that they're living in, they're trying to do their best. However, because of the environment that they're in, that would be some of the one cause as well. You can take the next.
Low language proficiency or a low graduation rate at their school, that again can come from the environment that is surrounding around. Physical or verbal abuse is very important key that can make youth high risk, because who they think they are has been instilled in them by that physical and verbal abuse. So sometimes that can create what we consider at risk. Bullying, neglect, low self-esteem, those are all characteristics that come with, come with our at risk.
All right, and the next slide. And this just points out some of the things that our youth go through being at risk, just educational disadvantagements, being homeless, family violence. A lot of, even though some of them may not be abused themselves, they witness parents abusing, other parents. Or sometimes they have to protect their younger brother or sister. And so being a younger brother or sister, they see their older brother or sister being abused. So it could be a lot of different things. Something that they have no control over. Sometimes there's trauma in their life. Let's say they got into a car accident and that could affect them really a lot. A car accident can affect a lot of youth to determine where they are going and how they mature later in life.
Right, and then that stair steps to our legal problems from the car accident, a possibility, suicidal thoughts, they might have mental issues. So it's a lot of things that our youth are dealing with. Even this pandemic can bring on a lot of mental health issues for our youth. So we always, again, want to make sure that we are advocate for them and making sure that we don't label them, and understanding that core issue, the issue that's deep down inside that is making them what we consider at risk.
Right. And then also to not shine light on the other things that are going on in the world with our president and other things that, people of color are facing at this moment. Right. Those are all experiences that some youth have to carry through with them throughout their life. And so that could cause them to be at risk as well, because they don't know who's on their side. They're afraid, and they have to be very timid and careful about what they do and how they carry themselves as well.
Exactly, and just going off of that, the neighborhoods in particular, if they live in a particular neighborhood that has high crime rate, that goes back to what we're living with and dealing with today, that can cause a lot of effect in their life that can trickle down and cause them to be at risk.
Yes. The next slide, please. So the mental health factors, a lot of people will say are afraid to see therapists or the stigma. Right. We want to try to get away from that stigma.
Right.
And definitely talk to our youth about, letting them know that it's okay to see a therapist. It's okay to say, hey, I need some help, because sometimes I'm not always as calm as I need to. I know sometimes I can be a little high-strung. Right. Right. Sometimes we just need that extra push or that extra help to make sure that we're at our best.
Right.
All the time.
Yeah, and just making sure, like you said, to get that professional help, to let them know it's okay. Because stigma comes probably within their family, their friends, to make it seem as if that is such a bad thing for them to seek out that help. They might know within themselves that they need that help, but as advocates, it goes back to saying, guess what? You might need a little bit of help with this because I am high strung. I might need that help to help me mellow out. Mm-hmm. So it's okay to go see a physician or to get that extra help that they need.
Exactly. And just to piggyback off of that, when we say advocate for them, it's okay to talk to them. A lot of times, especially with youth, if you're working with youth, They'll come in your office, sit down, talk to you about their whole life situation. But we don't have the qualifications.
That's right. That's right.
You're not qualified to tell them how to deal with certain things. You can give your input on what you've experienced, but everything doesn't work for everybody.
Absolutely.
And so to have them, let them know, hey, I went through this, I sought help. I know other individuals that have gone through this that also sought help. So just encouraging them as an advocate to go seek help, as well as giving them the options, who to go see, and also making sure that if you give them an option, that it's an option that would best fit them. Everybody's not going to like the same therapist. Everybody's not going to like the same medication. So you need to be able to become very versed in your community. Know what therapists are out there. Know what other self-help groups are out there for our youth, because a lot of the time they just need support. We need to be that support, and we need to be able to advocate for them as WIOA youth counselors or advisors. You know, there's a lot of names out there that we like to call ourselves, counselors, advisors, you know, case managers. But in all of that, understand that we're just an advocate. We are an advocate. We can't prescribe medicine. We can't tell them what to do, because at the end of the day, if something happens that you told them to do something, you gotta watch out. You always have to be aware of where you are and what you're doing.
And I think, you know, piggybacking off of Zack, just making sure that you have that referral process in place.
Yes.
Knowing your community, knowing who your other advocates are is very important, because like you said, we might not be equipped to diagnose, which we shouldn't if we're not equipped with that, but send them to someone that needs that professional help that is going to help them get to the next level.
Right. Next slide. All right. So this is a high number. 48,000 plus youth a day are locked up in the U.S. Whether it's detention facilities, group homes, residential treatment facilities, in jail, or in a long-term secure mental health facility. Though that's a huge number, because if you think about it, the youth are our future, and if they're locked up, what hope do we have?
Right.
What hope do we honestly have? And we need to have other options, such as Job Corps. You can send them to Job Corps. They teach them certain strategies, mechanisms, how to cope with life. There are other options out there that we need to be aware of, and not just always consider being, having them locked up.
Right. And I think, too, looking at this number, we should look at ourselves and say, what can we do more?
Right.
Like, what can we do to advocate more for them? What it might cause us to do more research. It might cause us to talk to another peer in another state or another county that knows a little bit more. If you're dealing with someone that is in a detention center, what is it that we can do more? Always dig within, deep within yourself to figure out what are the next steps. How can we advocate for them? What is something that might help bring them out of that situation? When they do get out of that situation, what's the next steps? We need to always be researching and alert and prepare to help our youth.
Yes, absolutely. Next slide. So as we stated before, is it okay to label a student as at risk? I wouldn't. I don't agree with saying, okay, this student is at risk or this student is at risk, because I consider any student to be at risk. That at risk category is a very broad spectrum. It could describe any situation or any condition that someone is going through, but not exactly that person.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's just an adjective, and not considered a label. That's our main thing. Is let's not label them at risk. Let's honestly get to know them as individuals and say, okay, what's going on in your life causes you to be at risk, but you're not at risk.
Right. It's the circumstance. It's not the person. With anything that we go through life, it does not make us a bad person or at risk. Mm-hmm. It's just the circumstance that you're in at that moment. So we, like Zack said, we want to look at the whole picture.
Yes.
Making sure that we figure out what is going on that is making them at risk. But the person themselves is not at risk. That can actually make them go into a whole different direction once you label them. So we try not to label, our youth or adults.
And I try to encourage them, hey, don't let anybody talk down to you or put you in certain categories that would make you feel less than what you honestly are.
Right.
And that's the main thing, encouraging our youth, and showing them that we do care. I saw someone put that up there in the chat, that we do care. And as long as they know that we care and that we have their back, we want to advocate, we want to support, then they'll be honest and they'll be able to open up to you a lot more.
Yes, because you got to understand, a lot of times youth are not getting that at home. They're not getting that. So when they come into job centers or they run into us at different office locations, we might be the only person that is there for them, to advocate for them, to care for them, to help take them to the next level. They might not even see it within themselves. So it's up to us in our job fields to make sure that we are advocating for them, helping take them to the next level, and showing them their full potential.
Yes, full potential is the key. Showing them, letting them know their full potential. And it all comes with encouragement. Absolutely. Always encouraging them to go the step further, to push themselves beyond what they believe their limit is.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I know a lot of youth right now, especially some of the ones that graduated, they're going through such a hard time. Oh, yeah. Just remembering to encourage them through this point in life. Some miss graduations, so they're having a hard time. So it's up to us, even in working virtually, to continue to encourage them, reach out to them, see how things are going, letting them know, we're very, very proud of them and what their accomplishments are, because this is a time that's very hard for a lot of students that did not get to graduate or or anything that they're going through right now, especially during this time.
Not being able to walk across the stage. That would have been devastating.
Very devastating.
Very devastating, not being able to walk across the stage. And I see a lot of individuals are doing the drive-by, honking the horn, and that's a lot. That serves as encouragement. That serves as knowing that people are in your corner. So every little thing counts. Every little thing helps when you're talking to our youth, our babies. I call, when I was working in the youth department in Chatham County, I said, these are my kids. I don't have any, but these are my kids. And I treated them as if they were, because I wanted the best for them. And they knew that, hey, Mr. Zack, he may say, look, you better get it together, but guess what? He's going to always have, my back.
And I think that's great to bring up, because it's okay to say, you know what? It's not okay what you're doing. It's okay for us to, I guess, reprimand, but making sure that it's done, number one, professionally and within policy, but making sure that they understand that if they do come against something and they are incorrect in what they're doing, their love comes from us when we tell them that they're wrong. So you want to make sure that you balance out. We praise, but we also correct.
That's right. And a lot of youth, I've learned working in group homes and mental health facilities before, that they like that corrective criticism. Absolutely. They like structure. Absolutely. They like knowing what to expect. As long as they know that my advisor is going to get on me because I'm not making the grades that I should, or I made a bad decision, they understand where it's coming from. Yes. So that constructive criticism and that structure that you provide has to stay the same across the board. You can't waver in it. You have to stay the same across the board, and that helps them to understand that, hey, this advisor doesn't consider me at risk. They know that what I did causes me to be at risk. Absolutely. However, I can do better.
Yes, stability. Stability. That is the word, stability. We want to make sure if you are calling them every 2 weeks and then you go 4 weeks without calling them, you possibly have lost them at that point, because they know, you know what, Mr. Zack is supposed to call me every 2 weeks. He's going to hold me accountable. So we have to hold ourselves accountable, number one, so that they know that they can depend on us. If they can't depend on us, we've lost them.
We've lost them. Next slide. All right. So I think this is where Miss Betty comes in, and she's going to ask us these questions.
Yeah. Drum roll, please. Okay, I'm going got to tell you, we've got an energetic crowd here on a Friday afternoon. I'm loving these chats. I'm loving these Q&As. Keep them coming. I'm keeping track of them. Question, what 3 major problems do you think young people face today?
You want to start?
So I think one of the major problems that youth face today is support, family support. Just having that backbone support. If they come from a family that maybe the mother is a single mother and she has to work, she doesn't have time to really give and pour into her children, they don't have that advocate. So, or it might be that they come from a 2-parent home where their parents just don't care. So having that family support is very vital. It's something that they have to have as youth. And when they don't have it, it causes trickle effects.
Yes.
You know?
I believe another one is just having direction. A lot of the times, and what they're facing today is a lot of youth, because they may be a first generational college student.
Right.
They don't know, the steps to applying for colleges, or to apply for FAFSA, or apply for all the grants and all the aids that come to the school. And so that's where it comes there. We have to be an advocate for them, because I had a student that was going to a 4-year university, but she was the first in her family. So I had to say, look, there are other grants and scholarships. Look into that school. Go and talk to that financial aid counselor if you have to, once a week. If you're in their face and you tell them, hey, I told her, I said, go talk to them at least once a week. Then you become close with them, and then they'll look out for you. Having that direction will help them. And so I saw that, our problems are a lack of direction.
Absolutely.
And they just need to have some direction.
And I think our third one will be that connection with positive people, positive role models, and leaning into that peer pressure, making sure that they are staying and residing in groups that are pushing and leading them into a good direction. To have that connection and networking of your counselors and things of that nature, so that they can continue on in a better direction. So I think those are some of the things that we think
the three major
problems that they have going on and against them right now. Okay, Ms. Betty, next question.
Yes, those were some great comments that I was juggling back and forth in the chat session, and answering people and telling them that how great their comments are, and everybody supporting one another and giving ideas. But we got another question. What are ways that as advocates we can help with at-risk youth?
I would say always be there to be able to support. You have to know your community. You have to know the area in which you are working. If you don't know the area in which you are working, you can't advocate for them. You have to know the people that are also in that area. So if I go to another advocate and I don't know them, then I won't be able to explain what the student is going through, or what my at-risk youth is going through. Also knowing the youth. If you don't know the youth that you are honestly working with, you can't advocate for them. You have to know them. And sometimes that means going a little bit beyond just having them come in the office, fill out your paperwork, and then they're gone. Sometimes you have to honestly sit down and have a 30 or 45-minute conversation with them, and sometimes even allow them to be relaxed in the area.
Absolutely.
And I've gone as far as to provide a little snack for them. Our kids love food, so those little things always help. You have to get to know the youth, and you have to get to know the other advocates and the other your community in which they will be assisted in.
Absolutely.
You said it very well, Zach. I just had to interject because I get passionate about this, because I'm all about education to employment and helping people better their lives through workforce training. That smiling face, Zach, where you give out that little snack, you may be the only person that day that was nice to that nice to that person. You may not even realize it, but you have made their day.
Agree 100%. I think piggybacking a little bit off of Zack is making sure you show up. Sometimes it might be that you have to get out the office and go pull up to the school and just check up on them and make sure they're okay. If they're in training, show up to the job, making sure they're okay, making sure that that connection with that supervisor is going well, so that they know, you know what, Miss Felicia and Mr. Zack, they really care about us. You know, you have to show up and show them that you're going to be there no matter what. When they fall, you're there. When they're succeeding, you're there. So making sure that you are showing up for them. Sometimes, again, it might call for you to be, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take my lunch. So I might have to work from 5 to 6 just to go show up at the campus just to see how they're doing. So being flexible enough to make sure that you can show up for your youth and making sure that they see your presence in their life.
Yes, it's all about showing them that you care. A lot of them don't see that at home. And if they see that someone cares, they feel like, okay, someone else cares about me, I can care about myself.
Absolutely.
And that's being an advocate.
Exactly.
Next slide.
And the comments keep coming in. I'm going to try to summarize the comments at the end, but I can tell you both, you guys rock. You're a hit. CETI rocks with you two. And I mean, it's always good to have your last session where you've got so much interaction. But what are some of the influences in the world today that would affect at-risk youth?
Okay, I'll start off with this one. I think it goes back to something that I said earlier with peer pressure, just being around the wrong crowd. But sometimes, unfortunately, the wrong crowd is their environment. They cannot help where they live. So we want to make sure, again, we use our word all the time to advocate. That's big for us. That you're making sure that you can sort of pull them out of that situation, letting them know you might be here now, but let's make 5-year plans. Let's make 10-year plans to show them that they always necessarily might not be in that place, but that they can come out of that place. So you want to make sure that we show them the difference, show them what they can be above from the situation that they're in right now.
Yes. Another influence in our world today, I would say, is music. Music plays a big part in everyone's life, whether you're young, old, in between. It plays a big influence in your life. And the music that our youth are listening to today, or some of our youth, I won't say all of them, some of our youth are listening to today is all about shoot 'em up, bang, bang, what you gonna do with this person and that. And if we can show them that there is other music, other positive music that they can listen to. I'm not against rap, but let it be a positive. Let it be positive rap that they're listening to, showing them other alternatives to the music that they are listening to, that there is other alternatives. I had a youth on my caseload. He wanted to be a rapper, and I had to check it for him, and I said, look, is this possible, first of all? And I said, let me listen to some of it. And I listened to it, and I told him, I said, it's inspirational, number one, because you're talking about what you've gone through. But on the other hand, what I will say is some of this stuff is stuff that I don't think you need to be saying. Let's just be honest. As an individual that is 15 or 16 years old, I don't agree with what you said. So, and then at that point, he realized, okay, when I do play something from Mr. Zack, I can't play all the crazy stuff. I can play the positive and the inspirational and the stuff that, the things that tell someone what I went through and how I overcame something. I can play that. But if it has all of the cursing and talking about shooting and all of the other stuff, he said, oh no, Mr. Zack, don't listen to that one. And so, but it's all about showing that you care and you're willing to be there, as well as showing them that they need to respect you as their counselor, as their advisor, as their mentor. A lot of times we're serving as mentors to the youth, and it's all about that respect, that boundary. You have to set it, and in the beginning, in the beginning,
and don't sway from that.
And that's what we say. You can't waver with the youth. It's all about structure.
You're right, and we've got, a couple comments that I just can't hold back because it's talking so much to you guys. There's so much social media bad influences. people needing to set goals, a vision, and a plan. And it starts with the family. Because
Yes.
if the family don't have one, how do you think the youth can? Because then they start hanging out with the wrong crowd, and the wrong crowd could even be in their own family.
Right.
And I think the good thing about that is if they don't have that family setting, that you can become their family and help advocate for them, help bring them in. Would I say all social media is bad? No, it's just how you use it.
Mm-hmm.
And like Zach said, when it goes back to music, some music can be bad, but we can't always pull them away from their loves. We just have to be soft and just bring it around the corner and say, you know what? You might like this, but try listening to this music right here. Check this music out. I know you had talked about when you went to a youth conference. They had a playlist for youth. So it's not that we have to take and always pull those things away from them, because that could be bad, a reverse effect. But we want to make sure that we give them other options. Give them other options.
And it's key to give them options, because no one likes when their options are taken away.
Right.
As an adult, you don't like when your options are taken away.
Right.
I don't like it.
Right.
And youth need to have some sense of control of themselves.
Absolutely.
So if you give them all of the positive options, guess what? They can choose from those positive options.
Exactly.
But just taking social media away, no. Just taking music away, no. Just taking their environment away, saying, oh, we need to move you out of this environment, or we need to snatch you out of this environment. No, you give them what the positive options are, letting them know that, hey, it's okay to be in this neighborhood, but be careful of where you are. It's okay to listen to music, just be careful of the music you listen to.
Exactly.
It's okay to be on social media, but be careful of what you post, be careful of what you watch, be careful of what you pay more attention to, because that is what's going to influence you and put you in a negative aspect.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Let me look at some of the chat here for just a second. I'm going to get to all of it, but some of it's very germane. Let me go here to the bottom. Talking about, do you use any social media platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok to reach your youth? And if yes, how do you do that?
I think number one, you want to always reach out to your workforce board.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, to make sure it's okay. So you want to stay within policy, because social media can get bad. So you want to make sure that you're in line with policy and procedure, number one. Number two, if you do get the authorization, follow those guidelines, making sure that you put certain settings in place, because you don't want it to get out of control, because we are working with youth. And so sometimes that can run the opposite direction that you want it to run in. So you want to make sure that you get guidance from your local areas, from your companies, making sure that that's okay. I know I did used to work for a company, and we used Facebook, and it worked out lovely. We were able to have our participants in there. They seemed to become like family. They were able to talk to each other because they did know one another through the program. It was a youth program, and it worked out great. But you always make sure you're touching base with your local areas and workforce boards, and making sure that that's okay, and with your companies. And I say, why not? Our youth are social media
experts.
Yes,
That's where they are.
That's where they are.
That's where they are. And you have to meet individuals where they are.
Absolutely.
If someone approaches me about music and they're talking to me about rap, I might shut them out.
Right.
I'm just saying.
But I might be open.
So you have to meet individuals where they are. And that goes the same for our youth.
Right.
If that's where they are, go to social media. Right. And like Felicia said, of course you want to follow your policy and your guidelines, policy and procedure from your local area workforce development board. Right. And then after you get that, always post positive, encouraging, and also post what other options are out there for them to get assistance, where they can get advocates. So the same stuff that you're saying to them face to face is the same stuff they need to see on the social media. Right,
because that's the thing, and I'm glad you said that, because you got to understand, number one, why do you want to have social media? Because if it's not going to benefit them, what's the purpose in having it? So you want to make sure that, like you said, you're putting things up like jobs or career fairs or where foods and where they can go get food, encouraging word. You want to keep that monitor it.
And you can't use it as an activity to post for that.
Right.
It's not a case note. Had a conversation on Facebook Messenger with you and talked about that's not what we want to see.
Right, absolutely. So you want to make sure, again, you're within policy. Absolutely.
You guys are a hoot, and I mean, our audience is following you, spot on. So you've already answered part of this. I want to make a comment, and then another person has a question.
Okay.
A person said, be where they are. Talk the lingo, like you've been talking about. Speak to the positive. Encourage transformation.
Absolutely.
Make reasonable promises and follow through. Your case notes, etc. We have a question that says, have you ever held sessions where problem-solving issues or pushing toward accomplishing a goal that you had to have a family and the youth together to negotiate an environment to ensure the youth's success? If you did, how often and what type of activities did you offer?
So when it comes to problem solving, where you honestly have to have the parents involved in it, first of all, a lot of our youth that we reach out to, sometimes they're in high school, so you have to have that parent signature in order to enroll them, other than the ones that are 18 or above. But those youth that are 17 and below, when there's an issue at school, you should always be in contact with the parent. Even when there aren't any issues, when you're talking to the student, whether it is face-to-face or whether it's over the phone, ask for a parent as well. And then you can always, what we call treatment team meetings in the mental health field or in the school as well. They have treatment team meetings for the IEP or the ISSP. Everyone's coming together. So it serves as an intermediary when you're talking to the youth, but also having the parent on board as well, because sometimes you have to teach the parent, honestly, how to parent. I've had that situation where you said, look, I understand that the student or your child needs to be disciplined, but that discipline was a little way and far gone. Right. You went a little too far. Right. And so sometimes we have to rein the parents back in, and it's difficult, but as an advocate, and we'll say that all the time, as an advocate, you're there for the student, for the youth, and bringing the parent in is always necessary, because if the parent doesn't know what you're going through and what you're saying to the student and how you're affecting the student and how you're guiding their child, this is their child, they need to be involved. And sometimes, if you're having a problem-solving workshop or a financial literacy workshop or the different workshops that, WIOA has 14 guidelines that you need to be touching on all the time. Those workshops should also be available to the parent. The parent should be able to come in and sit down, because a lot of times if the student or our at-risk youth doesn't know how to problem solve, guess what? The parent doesn't either.
It's learned.
It's learned behavior. If the child doesn't know how to say, it's because the parent didn't teach him, and the parent doesn't know how either. It's just.
I hear you, and some of our attendees are saying, basically what you guys are saying. Youth peer groups as mentors, learn from each other. We do youth to youth interest groups, SGA, a holistic approach. Somebody has said, have you encountered obstacles with youth who are being affected by ICE policies?
Oh, wow. ICE. I would not.
No.
I have not had that situation, and I would not be able to touch on that one. That's one situation that I would not be able to touch.
Let the group help each other out here and chat then, because you know what? We're learning from each other.
Yeah, yes. I did what I taught at the community college. And it can be a very sticky situation.
Yeah.
It's almost something that we have to sort of stay out of because immigration lawyers and stuff are into that. So I would just be, like Zach said, be very, very careful. If you don't have experience in those fields, do a lot of research. You might have to talk to the parent
And
refer them out to someone that can help them in that particular field. That's what I would always say. If you don't know, if you're not the person that can genuinely help them, refer them out.
There are community advocates for individuals where ICE has, stepping in or, that can help, individuals get their legal documentation.
Right. Yes.
I would refer it out. I wouldn't touch it because of the legal responsibility that comes along with it. The law. When it comes to the law, Zack stays clear.
Right.
Yeah, Betty's right there with you. What I will encourage, and I'll put it in our chat again, I will highly tell you what we're talking about right now. This is a very, applicable topic that can help all of us. And, we're having this session, but I'm going to put in the group chat to everybody. If you haven't, join the CETI alumni group and let's talk about it together online. Those that want to can, those that don't have to.
Right.
These are the types of things that we want our group to start helping one another with. Is that fair to everyone?
I think so. I agree.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, I think we've answered this question. How about the next slide?
Okay.
Yes.
Well, what population of at-risk youth do you see most often?
For myself, when I was working with the youth, I saw a lot of individuals that had juvenile detention or that were involved with the juvenile law. And personally, I honestly sought those out because I know that a lot of other individuals are the ones that they're kind of backing away with them because a lot of people don't know how to grab those and actually, work with them. I sought those out because I feel like that is a population where although there are a lot of individuals that are a lot of our youth that are locked up, they need the most assistance because they already have that stigma on top of them. It's on their record. They go throughout school with that on their record. And so if we can teach them and show them that we care, then that helps them a lot. That really empowers them, and that's what we're about. We're about empowering them and advocating for them. So that population, the juvenile detention, and the juveniles that are involved with the law, with the court system, I saw a lot of them. I also saw a lot of teen pregnancy, whether it was, whether it was females that had kids. Right. Or whether it was males that were honestly stepping up to the plate. There are a lot of teen dads out there because they didn't have fathers in their life. They want to make sure that they are being a father for their child. And so we see a lot of teen dads stepping up to the plate because they want to be what they did not have.
Right, and just piggybacking off of Zack, that was mine, teen parents. And so with teen parents, a lot of things come with that, especially if they're still enrolled in high school, or if they're doing at-home school. That was a lot that I dealt with when I used to work with the youth, because with them, not only do they have the regular, they now have a child on top of that. And so teaching them how to be parents as well as responsible youth in the community was a big thing for them to deal with. And it caused a lot of, again, going back to those workshops, making sure that you touch all of those workshops. Financial, you have to buy diapers. So we need to know how to budget. You know, making sure that you are hitting those main things that they need to know, not only to be good human beings, but to be awesome parents. Yeah. Because again, it goes back to a lot of, I had males as well, they didn't have that generation of their father being in their life, or their father was locked up. So then if their father was locked up, they didn't have that role model to teach them how to be male parents. Or generations of young girls where their grandmother was on food stamps and their mother was on food stamps, and then they thought it's okay to be on food stamps. It's okay to be remain on the system. But just to show them that it's a better way, because they have seen it throughout generation, so they feel like that's the way to do things. But teaching them financial budgeting helped bring some of those youth out of those situations.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know, not getting personal or anything, but I can tell you that many of you probably were raised in rural communities and had stuff happening, and I can tell you I'm no exception. And you have to make a conscious choice not to go down that path and say, I'm not going to become that person.
That's right.
Yes.
So, all right, next slide, please.
Okay.
All right, let's see here. When do you decide that the youth is not going to be productive? What do you do?
We never make that decision. I feel like the youth itself, they make that decision. When we start seeing them,
they fall off.
That's right. When they fall off, or they're not coming to the meetings like they used to, or they're not returning our phone calls, they have now made that decision. We always do what we're supposed to do. Yes. We always going to be their advocate, but it's up to them. We can't force them to do better, right? But we're always there.
Always be that support system. But when you see it happening, that they're not being productive, it's their choice. Right. Like I said, they fall off. Right. They stop answering phone calls, whether it's because of a family situation, whether it's because of something that they did and they feel like, oh gosh, I've gone too far. Right. You will see it. You will see that they have they've fallen off, and you continue to reach out.
Absolutely.
They need to know that someone cares.
Yes.
What do you do once they have, once they've fallen off? You reach out, but you still follow up, and you still, make your case notes. You still make sure you're documenting everything that's going on. I will always say this: documentation is key. Because if the law comes back and says, oh, this student was missing, and you have case notes in there saying that you was talking to them, somebody in trouble.
Right.
But the key is always document, hey, I reached out to them. I haven't gotten a phone call back. Reached out, call the parent. There have been several times where I've had to call parents. Hey, I'm not getting any phone calls from your son. Your son is not calling me back. I've called him. I've texted him. What's going on? Where is he at? Where is she at? What's going on? And then once the parent sees that, someone's following up, then the parent has to get involved. And it's key that these youth that, where you have the parents that have to be involved, you keep the parent involved. And I will say that over and over again, keep the parent involved. Now, once they reach a certain age where, they don't have to have that parent background, that parent follow-up, then once if you don't have the case notes, then the system will automatically, it'll shut it down. But they will fall off. There's really nothing you can do, because at that point, the youth has decided that, okay, this is not something that they want. And if they don't want it, then they'll fall off. And then they'll realize later on that it was something that they needed, and they'll seek it out again. I've had it happen.
Yes.
They felt fallen off, and I've gotten ready to exit them, or they were in another county and they've fallen off, but then they came back and they said, oh, I was in this program 5 years ago. And I'm like, well, what happened? They needed someone that cared. They needed someone that was going to follow up. And sometimes you have to be on top of them.
Yeah, you just have to hold them accountable. If it's that they fell off for a month and then came back to talk to you, hold them accountable. Let them know, listen, when you signed up for this program, these were the policies, these were the requirements. Hold them accountable.
Accountability is key.
It's everything, because they clearly don't have someone in their life that is holding them accountable.
And structure. It shows them that there is structure in your program, that you are running your caseload the way you need to.
Right.
And you say, oh, I haven't heard from you within a month. At this point, you know, we can have a conversation, and we can, you know, get you back on track. Exactly. But because you didn't call me, and you didn't reach back out to me after I reached out to you, unless there's a valuable excuse, there's going to be some consequences. So you're going to have to go a month or two without getting some of the extra support.
Right.
There has to be that give and take.
Yes.
That give and take.
Yes, because you want to make sure that you definitely get the story, because it could have been something detrimental that happened in their life. So we want to always give them that opportunity to tell us what's going on. But if it's that they just fell off, hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable.
Well, and also we had a comment from earlier that I think is appropriate to say now. A person said, I've had a few times where the family tries to keep the youth down. Somebody in the family says, your dad didn't get a GED. You don't need one. Do you think you're better than your dad? And that's really hurtful.
It is.
For a young person to be told, basically, you know, you're not going to be better than me. Who do you think you are? You're not going to amount to anything. And that stays with that youth, that person, the rest of their lives.
That's right.
It does. It does. It's sad that it happens, and it's still happening today.
Yes.
There are youth that are being discouraged by parents because they were discouraged by parents. And you hear it a lot. Hurt people, hurt people.
Right.
And the only thing you can do is be that voice on their shoulder and say, hey, I'm here to encourage you. And as much as you're hearing this at home, that's not what you're going to hear from me.
That's not who you are.
That's not who you are. You have to, it's always about encouragement and pushing them up, because they're our future. They're going to have to take care of us one of these days.
That's right. Because they're going to have to take care of us, we need to pour into them right now to make sure that they are going to be responsible, dedicated, and hard workers, because eventually, like Zack said, they're our future. They're going to take care of us. So unfortunately, when parents do that, we're the advocates. We're the next person in line to say, you know what? I'm not going to let you allow yourself to be in that bubble. You might hear that at home, like you said, but when you come here, I want you to know you're better than that. Yeah. You're going to be better than that, and you're going to go far. And so just making sure that you speak life into them and encourage them.
And always include a team. In our office, my youth got to know everyone in the office. So when they were walking by, they were speaking to everyone as they were coming in or as they were going out. Right. And everyone was saying, hey, I saw what you did, or I heard Mr. Zack told me that you did this or you did that. We're proud of you. If they're hearing that from other individuals, then that lets them know, hey, they are on the right track. And if they're on the right track, they're going to keep going.
Yes, absolutely. I think going back to that, just making sure, like you said, have that family. If you have an office, introduce your youth to somebody else so that they know, guess what? Mr. Zack cares about me, so does Miss Felicia. So that when he does tell me good things, I can praise them before they even going out the door, because they might not get that praise at home. So just making sure that you interact them with your office, especially if you have great coworkers to work with that will help build them up.
Yes,
you know,
it's all about building them up.
Absolutely.
Great interaction here. I do have a personal question from myself. So I appreciate everything that you both do and everybody in your, that have similar jobs that you. But with continuing educators, which I think we have a whole lot on this call, how can we work with you all in your departments, and how can we help make a difference? How can we make that connection? Because I hear many continuing educators say at times it's difficult to connect with the WIOA office, etc., and to be able to help these, at-risk youth, whether it's at-risk youth 18 to 24, even people older, because there's so many people out of a job today. Everybody needs help.
Right.
Everybody's figuring out what the next step is. So, how can you encourage us as continuing educators the right way to reach out to you all, well, without making it feel like, oh, I'm trying to get special treatment? because I think we all wanted to be treated equally in providing education, but we don't want to be seen as, you know, too pesky, if you will. Does that make sense?
It does.
It does.
I think making sure that you contact your case managers. I feel like your case managers are going to be one of the first stops because they are working directly with that participant or with that youth. You also want to make sure that you're touching base with your local areas, your workforce board, so that you have that in, so that you can have that connection, because your local areas are going to be key, because they sponsor other areas, job centers. And so they can say, well, I have a center here that you can speak to such and such, or I have a job center here that you can speak to such and such. I think having that relationship and that partnership is going to be key, because reverse referrals. So you can talk to someone that might need your services or vice versa. So having and building that relationship, I feel like is key.
And the way to building that is, for us, because we work in career centers, it would be the American Job Center.
Mm-hmm.
That is across the board, from California to New York to Texas and Florida. Everybody has that same logo when it comes to career centers or job centers, as some individuals say. It's called the American Job Center.
Mm-hmm.
And you can Google that and find your local area board. You can find your local career center, wherever you are, and reach out. They have phone numbers on that website, email addresses, names and who to contact. Getting those names and numbers of who to contact in your area, in your community, would be the key.
Yeah, definitely. Getting your local, the one that's closest to you, because those are going to be the ones at your reach.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be able to help you with building that relationship. Like Zack said, maybe they can come to you and have a sit-down meeting, or you can come to them and have a sit-down meeting, but you have to establish that relationship in order to help your community. Reach it out. The more partners, the better.
Yes.
I think you both are spot on. And remember when we were practicing the other day, and I had asked you, had you heard of servicelocator.org? So I typed in your link, and I typed in mine, and it's the same website. So it's the exact same website, and I find it wonderful because we do work in over 38 states nationwide with WIA departments.
Yes.
You type in that zip code, 25, 50-mile radius, you find out who the key people are, and you just, my experience has been, I just call up and say who I am. And it's like, I'd like to develop a relationship with you. Can you tell me what the method is to submit my programs, or for my school to be approved? And then for my programs to be approved, and I personally find that developing the relationship, going to see the counselors in person, or now having virtual meetings, putting on a little webinar, a little session for the counselors, and letting them see you as a real human being, and that you're not out there trying to just sell to anybody that there is, that you actually care about their clients. I find that to be the best method for me. I will also speak, I think, on behalf of some of the continuing educators. Something that's difficult is more and more the schools that provide the education, they're being held accountable for job tracking, reporting back. And last time I checked, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, there's not enough hours in the day to be a staffing agency.
Right.
So how can we work together on that?
In the Career Center, we also keep track of that with our students. So that's where, as Felicia was saying, the reverse referral. If you have students that are at that age where they're needing to go into jobs and things of that nature, we're able to help them with that, enroll them in a program, get them what it is that they need, and then we can get them to sign a release of information, so you can be able to get the information that we have and are able to help you meet, help the educational individuals meet their quota, and everyone work together.
Yeah.
If we're all on the same page, all
That's
on the
the key.
same accord, working together for our at-risk youth, for our youth in general.
Yeah, and I think that's key. You led right into mine is making sure that you know this is not a competition. That even though when Zack was working with youth, we were in the same office location, he would help me, I would help him as far as reverse referrals, anything that he needed, I would research, or vice versa. It's, even though we work for 2 different contracts, it's all about making sure our participants are taken care of. So if we always look at it as it's not a competition, but to help the greater good in our community, I think we will be okay.
Exactly.
Okay. What I'm going to do is, I know it's 4:05 Eastern, and I got a pack of stuff to read to you all. Anyone in the Q&A and chat that types from this moment on, I will get to you, but all these patient people that's been waiting, I'm going to look at theirs now.
Okay.
But let's go to the next slide, because I want to see. I want to make sure we get to the end to the sponsor. Oh, we're at the sponsor page. Go there. I'm out of practice a few times with you guys. So we're going to keep this slide up again to remind you that we had over 3,800 people that were able to register, or registrations for free of charge, due to the companies that you see on the screen. Please don't forget who they are. They want to work with you. They want to help support you, because we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
And we all have the same mission. I mean, consider us a triangle. You got the, you got the school partner, you got WIOA, you might be working with a third-party provider. Now I just made it into a square because now we got the student. But we're all working together for one reason: make sure that these our students, our population, no matter what age they are successful. Because we want to keep people out of the unemployment line and in the employment line, because when we are self-employed, working for someone, or self-employed, but regardless, when we're employed, we feel better about ourselves. We feel more professional about ourselves. We have more self-respect. I don't think there's hardly anybody out there that truly wants to just be given everything. And we've talked about today, generational, things being, handed down, food stamp. We need to make sure that people take more pride in themselves. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people. So I'm going to, and obviously this has been real time. So pardon me if I don't sound, have all this choreographed, because I've just typed it into a Word document as you've been sending it. How essential, and some of these we might have done, so I apologize again. How essential are our high school counselors in helping identifying at-risk youth candidates by helping them see the possibility that learning a credential is a viable alternative to college? I think you did hit on it, but I'll pause to see if you want to add anything to it.
I think high school counselors are needed. They are so important.
We need more.
Yes, they are so important, because not only are they helping them through their process of getting through high school, when it's time for them, if they choose to go to college, they're their next step. So you want to make sure that you hold them accountable like they hold you accountable, because when it comes to financial aid and all those things, scholarships, those are the people that know that information first.
And I'll go as far as to say, and we're not always pushing for a four-year university. We're not always pushing for an associate's degree.
Right.
Sometimes they need to get a trade. Everybody's not meant for university or community college. Everybody's not meant for that. Some people just need to find something that they're good at that's going to take them 3 to 4 months to learn, and then they can go for it.
Absolutely.
And then anything after that, they can just build upon.
Absolutely.
And that's key for our youth, because as we know, our youth, their attention spans are not as long as some.
Right.
It's not as long as others, or as ours is, or as individuals in the past have been. The attention span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter by the day.
Yeah.
And so everybody's not going to do the four-year university.
Absolutely.
A lot of them are going to go for a trade. And so their counselor is going to be that one to say, it's okay not to go to a four-year university. It's okay to get you a trade. It's okay to get a certificate and build upon that certificate. Everybody that owns a business doesn't have a degree.
That's right.
And if they are giving them that positive information, that positive influence, that positive encouragement, then our counselors are important. That's just the end of it.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to us also saying it's okay not to go to a 4-year.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to, if you want to do a trade or even just go get a job. But we have to make sure that we understand what they want and not pushing them into a direction that they don't want to be pushed into.
Or that we want to push them into.
Or their parents.
Yes.
So, you know, just making sure that we hear them and that we listen to them.
Listening to the youth is always key.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I really, really couldn't, because statistics show, and there are documents that say that over 65% of today's jobs do not require a college degree. In fact, it is the trades, it is the certifications, because that's what employers are looking for, the real world skills. So I think that's spot on, and I think our counselors, I agree we need more of them, and I agree that they need to be talking real world to our students, as what's going on in the world, if you will. So let me go back to my little document. Another person just made a comment that if the counselor's in touch with the community, they're very helpful. If there's a disconnect, not so much. Those who have lived that type of life experience aren't always in the counseling degree programs, and they go on in the community college and school. So I think, we're all saying the same thing. I got somebody from Job Care that says, we care, or Job Corps, we care. Let's see here. What types of certificates can a person get that are on the sexual registry with no high school diploma? Not quite sure. Maybe you all understand that?
Could you read that question one more time?
I'm going to read it exactly as it was typed. What types of certificates can a person get that are on the sexual registry with no high school diploma, now on summary probation? So I think it might be a person that is on probation but no high school diploma.
Okay. The first thing I would say is research. Certificates, generally, you either have to have high school diploma or GED. So I think that's first step.
Yeah, the first step would be getting the high school diploma or the GED. I agree.
Yes, and then the second step would be to see what that person with that type of charge can go into, because it would make absolutely no sense for them to go into a
CNA.
Training program, exactly, CNA example, and they're not going to get hired. So you want to make sure that you are researching to see what type of job field they can go into after having that type of charge.
Yeah.
But definitely GED and high school diploma, I would say, will be the first step.
And we had an attendee that clarified vocational certifications is what I think they meant. I'll give you an example. Like, we offer pharmacy tech. The person's not gonna get a pharmacy tech job if they've got, a felony, but they might be able to get a medical billing and coding
or
class.
HVAC.
Yeah.
HVAC.
So it is all situational. So you can't, and in fact, we do background checks and drug panel tests on our students that require that, and I'm sure that most everybody on this call does, because you want to make sure that you're not saying, oh, you didn't get a job in this, then really you can't. So
another thing that they can look into is like the bonding programs. That helps with people that have charges get jobs where the government has given them the job itself federal dollars to help bring on people with charges. So that would be something I would research into.
Okay, I'm going to continue on here. Just some comments, some feel-good stuff here. Thank you. There's a high level of intersectional, I can't say that word, with intersectionality with our babies, and we have to help them navigate through it all. I think that's when we were talking about how we need to nurture and care. Absolutely all great points. I have a big nest, lots of birds who are learning to fly. I even said to that person, can only imagine big jobs for all of us. Great perspectives from an energetic pair. It gives them balance. Let's see here, builds accountability. Love these sessions. I'm so grateful because we worked really hard the last 2 or 3 months to turn this around from live in person to virtual. And our speaker and our panelists have all rocked. Let's see here. They long for a parent or a mentor to help them succeed their best interest with their involvement in their life direction. We all want somebody to know that they care about us. Lack of support leads to a lack of direction. Basic educational levels, social family challenges, clear directions, goals, outlook. I think we're all on the same page here. Mental health support resources. How important is it to have a mentor if the family support is not there? And where can those mentors be found? I think that's our next question.
It's very important to have mentors. I would say almost every city has some sort or some caliber of mentoring program in their city, in their county. You just have to reach out. A lot of the schools will know what mentor groups are out there for the students. And I'll go as far to say, as the career centers, the career centers have to partner with so many individuals. The career centers should also know what mentor groups are out there for the students, and things to help our students.
Absolutely. And I think like the big brother, big sister type thing. And it goes back to us. We need to research to see what is out here, because some of our youth might need mentor programs more than what we can give them on a Saturday or a Sunday. So making sure that we research and make sure that we partner out in the neighborhood and in the community to help our youth.
Yes.
I think those are all excellent points, and I think we're all just trying to learn from each other, because not everybody that comes into continuing ed is an expert from the beginning, and it's like, oh my God, I've got this new job, and I'm expected to service my entire community, all the different populations. Oh my, what will I do? So that's why these sessions that we've had this week are so important, to learn from one another and to continue by joining the continuing education training alumni group. Another comment, 100% young people need to seek someone to help them. This is their first round, so we can assist them. I want to turn that around, and us old folk need to reach out to the young folk, because sometimes the young folk don't know when they need help. So we need to reach out. I've been the recipient of that before, and I'll never forget it. Let's see here. We have nonprofits who mentor match in our area, but it is up to support to get those nonprofits and the individual to want to take that chance to meet a stranger. Again, I think it's about relationships with that. You have to outreach and engage, develop a relationship. Just because we pick up the phone or go see somebody in person one time doesn't mean they trust you. It means you have to prove yourself. At least that's what I think. What do you guys think?
Oh my goodness, yes.
You have to prove yourself.
You do.
And it takes more than one phone call, 2 or 3 phone calls. It takes more than office visit. It takes time, because now our youth are so untrusting of everyone's input and everyone's view of them, that it takes a while to build that connection. And a lot of the connections are broken because of what they've been through, what has happened to them, whether it is familiar or whether it is school or whatever. They just don't trust, and they don't trust anybody. And it's hard to build that, but you have to say, hey, I'm here for you. And you have to I say it all the time, you have to have that structure, because that structure helps them to identify that you're there for them, and that you're not going to waver in your opinion of them, and you're not going to waver in what you want to do for them.
Yeah,
especially in what's going on in the world today.
Right. Yeah, and I think it goes back to stability. Structure and stability is everything. I think coming down, not saying that when we're on their level that we're unprofessional. I don't mean that by any means, but coming down to that level that they can understand, and that we accept them for where they are, right? And being able to take them to another level, meaning They have to learn us. They have to learn to trust us. We have to be real with them. They can sense if you're not being real with them. They can sense if you're lying to them. So you have to stay that person, like you said, the same person, not swaying, but staying straight in the middle, always starting. And I always, when I talk, wherever you start, that's where you need to finish. Not wavering, not showing favoritism, anything like that, straight across the board. Making sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do to build that bond and that trust with that youth.
Yes, you cannot straddle the fence with these youth. You cannot, absolutely.
I agree with you. Going on to some comments to get to my next question. I'm loving this presentation. Thank you. Thank you for who said that. I do Foodie Friday. It's a cultural connection that has had the input has been very valued. We've talked about youth and peer groups. We've talked about social media, bad influences. We've talked about goals, vision, and plan. We talked about the wrong crowds, could be in their own family. And one person said, we get gang. I mean, it doesn't matter what race you are. There's people out there that do bad things all along. It doesn't matter, and they try to have their clique. So we just need to stay away from the bad cliques. Do you use any social media platforms like Instagram? Oh, I asked that one. One person talked about that they've had a few DJs, music for loving of the heart, passion's a good motivator. Here's another question. Let's see if I've asked this. Have you ever held sessions where the problem-solving issues are pushing toward accomplishing a goal that you had to have? Oh yeah, I did ask that one. So okay, I've said that one. Identify the light bulb in them, and that will motivate the change. We talked about talking their lingo, case notes. Let's see here. Get your trainings approved through WIOA. And that will help. Yes, we talked about that. You got to be approved as a facility, then get your programs approved, and then and establish that relationship with the counselors. How do you proceed when a parent wants the successful outcome more than the actual participant? I think that's our next question.
Wow, that's a big one, and I've experienced it as a youth case manager. It's difficult because I'll say it like this. A lot of the times, it's not that the youth doesn't want to succeed. It's just that they don't want to do what their parent is telling them to do.
Right.
Point blank and period. And I've had to tell the parent, hey, back up, give them some space. Trust me, they want to succeed. It's not like they want to go out and stand across the street and, beg for money. Right. They don't want to do that. They want to be successful. But because a lot of parents want to push their child to be something either that they weren't, or they want their child to be better than them, it causes the child to be, how can I say it? Rebellious. And a lot of times kids will rebel just to rebel. Because they want to do what they want to do. And that's where I said, giving them options. We have to teach our parents how to parent sometimes. We have to tell the parent, hey, give them the options and let them know, hey, although I know you want to do this, this is where I would like for you to be, but let's meet in the middle. You have to give them a voice. And teaching the parent how to parent, that would be the key, because a lot of times the parents, they just don't want to do anything. That's not true. That's not true. I've had to tell parents, hey, walk around for a minute, let me talk to them, and let me see what I can get out of them. And then once I've talked to them and say, how, the student, the child will honestly say, it's just that I don't want to do what it is that she wants me to do. It's not that they don't want to succeed. They don't want to, I've had the child say, I don't want to go to the four-year university. I want to do something else. And my mom is pushing me to do this. We have to be that advocate even to the parent. You have to advocate for the child to the parent. It's not just for, individuals that were in the juvenile system or anything like that. Sometimes the parents just don't understand.
You truly are a mentor, trainer, coach, and counselor. I mean, you really are. I'm being mindful of everybody's time. We promised to end by 4:30. So those of you who are still hanging on, because there's still a lot of them, I'm going to run through as much as I can. And if there were any that we did not answer, I promise you, as we did at the beginning, that we will. Here's one question. How do you proceed when a parent wants the successful outcome more than the active participant? I think we've already pretty much answered that one, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
And I hope the person that asked that feels that we have. So this is awesome information. People are saying that they're WIO approved. We've got some Job Corps people. I have trainees who finally seek success through independence from their parents and the constant situations there. That's a powerful statement that you have, you have found that independence from the parent and you now feel strong on your feet. They are running towards success. We've talked about youth peer mentor groups. People have engaged and given some ideas on what they do. This is exactly what the CETI group's about, is sharing with each other. We talked about ICE, and a lot of people commented about ICE and what they're doing. That's a topic to get together and fire the internet up on that. Let's see here. Still some more. I try to connect staff who have gone through the citizenship process with our trainees who want to connect with some. 60% on average have mental health issues. Many have UA interactions, CPS in family mix, and parents in prison trying to stop the chain. 28 to 30% HIV positive. Let's see here, what else? Sometimes you have to ask them what made them lose interest or what would help you lean toward changing your mind. I know we've talked about that. Taking ownership of their lives, still have to hold their hands, and they need to choose to hold on. And I think this is about, like, if they didn't show up, the question would be, well, how did you get into my daily calendar if you didn't show up? Because we had a meeting schedule, holding people accountable.
Right.
Let's see here. They learned something. Get your trainings approved through WIOA. Different people are answering at different times about some of the subjects. Okay, we've asked that. Awesome information. We are WIOA approved. Now that's everything on my notes. Now let me go back and look at the chat session, and I try to be a woman of my word and finish on time. Let's see here. There are some places that have forgiveness hiring ordinance in their cities for people who do have a background, if you will. They say go to Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, consortiums, networking. Also, don't forget your alumni. Your alumni at your schools sometimes can be a forgotten source. My graduates look to employ my trainees. I'll make a statement on that. Sometimes in continuing ed, and maybe a lot of you all have more success, in continuing ed on the academic side, they won't let you email your alumni to talk about all the great certification professional development that you have. But create your own alumni group, just like we did for CETI. Create your own, where people come back to you as a resource, a solution provider for information. And I would also say, like, we try to keep a great relationship with our WIOA counselors and people in our community. Try to go establish a great relationship with your alumni director and just say, I'm just trying to make them aware of things that they can do for professional development after they've graduated. I mean, there's nothing wrong with trying. Parent needs to walk the walk, or otherwise the kid's going to be rebellious. Live the struggle. They know they are the change in the world. We do need to pump our people up, no matter who they are. To me, no matter what age they are, you are the change. And another person, and we'll end on this, great panelist, moderator, great information and insight. It's 4:29, and I'm going to tell you, this has been a rock and roll week.
Great.
It has. There's been so many people and so many great questions, and I've seen repeat attendees. Everybody will be emailed the sessions, the link, so in case you signed up and you missed it, you won't miss it, but if you don't look at it, you're gonna miss out. So let me do one last thing, because it's just how I roll. I'm gonna put the link for the CETI alumni group one last time in the chat. I will tell you, we've gained 3 more members since we've been on this session, and I hope that we'll gain many more and we'll learn from each other the rest of 2020. So thank you all, and have a wonderful, safe, healthy weekend.
All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.